Cenk, you're going to have to learn how to control yourself. I know it's very difficult for you, but you just had a very long time to speak and we were quiet. I promise you can do that. You need to sit on your hands, then you should do that. Cenk is somebody that grew up, obviously, with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's never had to fight for anything in his life and has never had to put his life before somebody else's. So it's very easy for him to behave like this, to behave demonstrably like a toddler who is throwing his toys out of the pram when he doesn't get what he wants. And so he heightens his rhetoric and says, why am I not getting what I want? This man's a dictator. This man's a threat. And he's not being realistic. And it's embarrassing to our country, whether it was a person on the right or the left.
You guys haven't addressed it at all.
Cenk, I promise you are capable of
controlling yourself. He wants to terminate the Constitution, so you like that?
minutes as somebody else speaks.
I'm on here with lunatics and conspiracy theorists. I can't believe he just said that. And you're saying that the guy who smashed Paul Pelosi's head in wasn't on the right? Is that what Candace Owens, the lunatic, just said?
Okay, just so you know, if you're going to call somebody else a lunatic, you shouldn't be behaving like one in the process.
When you say, but Cenk, when you say these right-wingers are all nuts, do you understand the irony, given you just spent the last 10 minutes literally ranting? But you cannot be impressed by what Kamala Harris actually says when she gets around to talking about policy. It's a lot of hot air, isn't it?
Yeah, so mostly yes. Okay, but let me be...
In this one, Candace Owens, Cenk Uygur, and Piers Morgan all three go toe-to-toe in an intense debate where Cenk Uygur acts like a complete moron, like typical. And even when he's quiet, he sits there with this look on his face, he shakes his head, and he's just generally unbecoming. Eric Prince even weighs in, and Candace Owens does a really good job making Cenk Uygur feel small, in my opinion. Cenk is caught lying multiple times by Piers Morgan, and it's a really good debate. I had a great time making this video. I was entertained. I laughed multiple times trying to film my takes, which took me longer. But you know what? I think you guys are going to enjoy this one, so let's go ahead and just get her started.
I want to bring in Candace Owens here. Candace, look, we're 48 hours after the latest assassination attempt, and I'm listening to another liberal who I respect. I've had Cenk on a lot on this show, absolutely losing his mind about how despicable Donald Trump is and what a threat he is and a danger and so on and so on. Exactly the kind of rhetoric that Trump has said he believes is fueling these people to try and kill him. What do you make of where we are with this?
What I make of all of this is that if you are going to legitimately tell people that someone is a monster, that somebody is a dictator, that somebody is literally Adolf Hitler, if you're going to tell people that this person is a constant threat, why wouldn't somebody try to eliminate that threat? That would actually be a sensible thing for somebody to do if they believe the rhetoric that is coming out of people's mouths. Now,
then
if this had happened and it was flipped,
including you, Candace.
Cenk, you just spoke for a very long time.
Let Candace finish, please.
You're going to have to learn to control yourself.
Cenk,
you're going to have to learn how to control yourself. I know it's very difficult for you, but you just had a very long time to speak and we were quiet. I promise you can do that. You need to sit on your hands, then you should do that. As I was saying, if this situation had been reversed and I had just watched somebody try to shoot Kamala Harris, I would be definitively saying how wrong it was. I would be saying to people that despite the fact that I do not want her to be president, of course, she is not so much of a threat that she needs to be shot. They don't stop this rhetoric because they do not want these assassination attempts to stop on Donald Trump. And I want to be very clear. The circumstance that we find ourselves in the West is one of remarkable privilege. And when you're in times of remarkable privilege, it creates actually an issue of having a lot of weak men, right? Weak men are the ones that are going out here proclaiming that Donald Trump is a threat, proclaiming that Donald Trump is somebody that is a dictator because they've never had real conflict in their lives. And you're about to see that example right now, the difference in the demeanor between someone like Cenk and Eric Prince, who I greatly respect, and who is somebody who has seen real conflict and understands what real threat is, right? He understands real threat. Cenk is somebody that grew up, obviously, with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's never had to fight for anything in his life and has never had to put his life before somebody else's. So it's very easy for him to behave like this, to behave demonstrably like a toddler who is throwing his toys out of the pram when he doesn't get what he wants. And so he heightens his rhetoric and says, why am I not getting what I want? This man's a dictator. This man's a threat. And he's not being realistic. And it's embarrassing to our country, whether it was a person on the right or the left.
You guys haven't addressed it at all.
Cenk, I promise you are capable
of
controlling yourself.
He wants to terminate the Constitution, so you
like that? 3 minutes as somebody else speaks.
Let me bring in Eric. Eric, you are a former Navy SEAL.
And a patient.
And a very patient former Navy SEAL, yes. You know, when I look at what's happened here, there are lots of strands to what's going on. And we'll come to the security aspect around Trump, which I find pretty scary, actually, that twice people have, with extraordinary ease, got into positions to assassinate him in the space of 8 weeks, which I just find quite remarkable and shocking and shameful, and a disgrace that the Secret Service has allowed that to happen. But before we get to that, this whole...
They saved his life.
Well, they didn't save his life. They put him in a position where his life nearly got taken. That's the truth. I mean, because they didn't even check
the perimeter. The guy didn't even get off a shot.
They didn't even
check. Spreading conspiracy
they didn't even check the perimeter of the golf course before he was exposed for 4 hours on that course 8 weeks after he was shot. It is unbelievable that anyone from the Secret Service would claim anything but a dismal failure of their preparation to protect the president, in my opinion.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.
But we'll come to that. Eric, what do you make of this debate, which is raging right now, in this debate now, about the rhetoric and the responsibility of people who are on the airwaves, who are in public life, to dial down the rhetoric?
Look, like the video clip you opened with, there's an enormous amount of apocalyptic language spoken by the left, saying he must be eliminated, he is Hitler, and that unleashes every left-wing crazy to authenticate themselves by saying, I'm going to be the hero. This guy, this Ruth guy on Sunday, who was there for 12 hours stalking Donald Trump with a high-powered rifle with a scope, with ballistic plates up against the fence. And what did he have up there? A GoPro. Why? He was trophy hunting. He wanted to be the savior of the left, to say, I'm the one that killed Donald J. Trump. Trophy hunting, Cenk, for people like you responding to words that you're putting out there. Why else would he have a GoPro?
No, he wanted to get famous. You're totally right about that, Eric. And I hate that. But the way that this whole thing has been framed, as if the right wing doesn't do rhetoric that is 10,000 times more dangerous and violent over and over again. Trump's fans sent pipe bombs to every one of his enemies. Trump fans hit Nancy Pelosi's husband in the head with a hammer, and Trump never even denounced it. How sick is that? That he never even denounced it. He laughs about it. So if we were using the Trump standard, we'd laugh about him getting shot at. But I'm not as disgusting as Donald Trump is.
Look, Cenk, the two aren't even comparable, okay? The guy that sent the pipe bombs was a radical dude that lost his mind, apparently, and acted alone. We don't know what David DePape's actual motivation was when he attacked Paul Pelosi. It's still kind of shrouded in secret as far as I can research and find out. But comparing two individuals that acted crazy when it's not hard to condemn their actions versus an entire mainstream media apparatus that serves the Democratic Party that has labeled Trump a xenophobe, a racist, a Nazi, compared him to Hitler, a threat to democracy. The list goes on and on and on, and it's echoed amongst thousands of mainstream media pundits, including yourself, Cenk. That is not comparable. You can't compare two individuals to the giant mainstream media machine. That is insane that you think that those two people that you just cited as examples are 10,000 times worse, using your words, than the rhetoric that comes out of your own mouth. It's completely absurd, and you're just straight up wrong. And your Trump derangement syndrome is shining through, and it's sad, and you're just virtue signaling whenever you say, oh, thank God to the Secret Service that they saved Donald Trump's life.
Nancy Pelosi's husband had an interlude with some bizarre gay lover. Trust me,
he wasn't on the right.
Oh my God, I'm on here with lunatics. I'm on here with lunatics and conspiracy theorists. I can't believe he just said that. And you're saying that the guy who smashed Paul Pelosi's head in wasn't on the right? Is that what Candace Owens, the lunatic, just said?
Okay, just so you know, if you're going to call somebody else a lunatic, you shouldn't be behaving like one in the process.
When you say, but Cenk, when you say these right-wingers are all nuts, do you understand the irony, given you just spent the last 10 minutes literally ranting?
Yeah, Yeah, I do, Piers. So I am loud and aggressive because that's what the Democrats and the left wing need to stand up to lunatic bullies like this. Candace Owens just said that the attacker of Paul Pelosi was not a right winger when he is a Donald Trump fan and a deep right winger. And Eric Prince, the lunatic, had said that he was a gay lover of Paul Pelosi. A conspiracy theory so unhinged that how am I supposed to respond to it? You can't have a rational discussion with people who don't believe in facts and logic. Piers, are you agreeing with these two lunatics that he was not a right winger
You should have a little
and that
bit
he was
more
some
respect
sort of gay
than
lover
to
of Paul
refer to
Pelosi?
Eric Prince as a lunatic. He served our country. You should
Yes.
have a little more respect and decency.
Yeah, no,
as
he's a
human being, as
mercenary and a
man.
disgusting guy, by the way. How many people did you get
You are
killed?
just-
Innocent people in Iraq, Eric. How many people did you have mowed down in Iraq, Eric? And you heard it with your own ears.
But Cenk, what I don't think you appreciate is how ranting, incendiary rhetoric of the kind you've unleashed so far in this debate yourself can, with an impressionable, unhinged person who believes everything you're saying about Trump, as Candace said, why wouldn't that person think to themselves, yeah, we've got to get rid of him, we've got to stop him?
Okay.
So my question for you
Piers,
is, if you can't even dial it down within 48 hours of a second assassination attempt on Trump's life, when can you?
So, Piers, now let's have an intelligent conversation. Hold on. About where are the lines? Where are the lines? So, wait, he asked me a question. Where are the lines? So, when you say, when Trump says these incendiary things that encourage violence, including laughing at smashing the head in of a political opponent's husband, that's what? Is that fine? Or he's bad too?
Well, is it fine?
How long does he have to pause saying
fine?
violent things?
Listen, I've criticised Trump for lots of his incendiary language over the years, but as far as I...
So how long should he stop?
Hang on. So far as I know, he's never called one of his opponents Adolf Hitler. And yet the left constantly...
Yeah, he did.
Constantly...
He just called, I don't know about Hitler, but first of all... But Piers, you make it look like...
Cenk, here's my point. If the left constantly say, as they do, he's the new Hitler, who, by the way, murdered 12 million people with his Nazis, including 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. If you keep saying that often enough, as the left do in America, eventually an unhinged mind is going to think, I've got to stop the new Hitler. That's my point.
So first of all, I've never called him Hitler. But I love Sandra Day O'Connor's quote about, it was about Bush and Cheney at the time, about fascism. She said, we've got to be careful of these beginnings so that we don't get those endings. So what I'm worried about is a guy who says that he loves dictators and writes love letters to them, and that he loves it when everybody has to stand up and applaud and no one can disagree with the leader of the country. He loves it. He thought we should terminate the Constitution. When they said to him, hey, they're trying to murder, your fans are trying to murder your own vice president. He told Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, he deserves it. I have to tell people the reality about Donald Trump. So, Piers, what do you want me to do? Take a 48-hour break, a 72-hour break? Or maybe do you want me to take a month and a half of a break of criticizing Donald Trump so he can win the election?
It was interesting watching CNN yesterday, my old network, for example, where CNN finally conceded on air that actually when Kamala Harris repeated this trope about Trump, that he called for they said there would be a bloodbath if he lost the election. Everyone knows that's untrue. That's not what he said. He talked about a bloodbath in the automobile industry. CNN finally admitted that on air, but Kamala Harris repeated that in a way that implied he said there would be a literal bloodbath. So when it comes to rhetoric, yes, Donald Trump has a lot of incendiary things that come out of his mouth, and I wish he didn't. But so does the left, Cenk. And your utter refusal to accept that anyone on the left can be even remotely responsible for creating an atmosphere where two people now try to kill Trump, I think is very disingenuous.
No, Piers, let me be clear. So number one, on the bloodbath comment, on the day of and ever since, we played the whole clip on the Young Turks and told everybody he did not mean violence. He talked about an economic bloodbath.
So why did Kamala Harris pretend
honest
that he
about
did?
it. We've never called him Hitler. But Piers, I can't sit here and not tell you that he didn't try to end our democracy, because he did. So I'm asking you now for like the fourth time. What do you want me to do?
Candace, I do genuinely feel very apprehensive about what is happening and what may happen. And I dread to think what would happen in America if somebody did actually assassinate Donald Trump. as they are repeatedly trying to do.
Yes, I mean, I was completely underwhelmed by the immediate reactions, even from Kamala Harris, just that simple tweet, and violence has no place, which felt like it was copy and pasted from a PR firm. There was no shock. There was no, this is absolutely wrong. There was no expressment of true frustration and disappointment, or even the recognition that that could be her, right? Like if you're trying to be a person that wants to be the president of the United States, this could potentially be you one day. So you should be outraged. I didn't sense that outrage from her. And rather, what you have correctly attest to is they just kept going on with the rhetoric the very next day, which to me is signaling to their followers that this is okay. We're getting closer and we're getting closer, and we are fine with this. We're not going to turn down the rhetoric because you guys are responding correctly. One of the things that's really frustrating, I think, for a lot of people is to watch the way the media is constantly allowed to detach themselves from the consequences of what they say, which is to say that somebody shoots up and tries to shoot a president, and the media is like, well, I was just calling him Hitler, but I never said to anyone that they should go shoot someone. And like I said earlier, what do you expect an individual to do when you are saying Adolf Hitler is taking the stage? When you are saying that we are going to completely lose democracy, which is so far from reality. It's embarrassing for Cenk to say that, because we don't have to imagine Trump as president. He already was for 4 years. People were living very well. The economy was doing very well. And so this rhetoric may have made sense in 2016. It doesn't make sense now in 2024. And so it's frustrating to see that. And I think what is good, though, is to allow people around the world to get this insight into what's happening in America, because you hear the left constantly purporting to be the side of peace, right? And then you watch someone like Cenk, right? And then you listen to people that are on the right, the awful people on the right. You listen to Eric Prince, you listen to me, and you're able to really comprehend who are the radicals in American society. Because you can scream peace, you can scream, oh, love is love all day, but you hear their rhetoric within 24 hours after a former president was almost shot, and they never dial it down. I mean, these people, I want and encourage violence all the time.
You see, Cenk, here's the problem. If this was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, who had had 2 attempts on their life in 8 weeks, the idea that you would not, if anyone on the Republican side used the kind of enraged, ranting rhetoric you've deployed in this debate today within 24 hours of it happening, that you would go completely nuts at the Republicans for doing that. So my thing for you is, you seem to think that the justification for all your rhetoric is that, well, Donald Trump does it. And that's kind of like the old school playground thing. Well, they did that, so I can do it. Where's your own moral line? Where's your line that says we're going to be better than that? If you genuinely believe that is wrong, that incendiary rhetoric is wrong, why do you deploy it?
So, Piers, no. The framing of this entire conversation is insane. So if somebody was just watching this conversation, they would think that I ordered an attack on the Capitol, or that the left wing did. No, Donald Trump had a violent mob attack our Capitol, and then you make it seem like the left has the violence problem. And then I strongly and very loudly condemned any violence. Shooting at Donald Trump is the worst thing in the world. I can't be any clearer about it.
But you don't
any
condemn,
assassination attempt, any violence, any physicality. Hold on.
You don't condemn any of the incendiary rhetoric.
Let me finish my point. I condemn it as forcefully as I possibly can. And then what do the 2 right-wingers do? Neither one of them condemned the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. Instead, they came up with crazy conspiracy theories. And what does that do? It encourages their fans to go, oh, yeah, well, it's not a big deal to attack our political opponents. It's not a big deal to attack the Capitol. It's not a big deal to send pipe bombs to Donald Trump's political opponents. So they encourage this kind of violence 24/7. And on January 6th, we saw it in spectacular fashion. And then you're trying to reframe the debate as criticism of Donald Trump, legitimate political criticism of Donald Trump, is somehow the thing that's causing political violence in this country. No, it is 98% right-wing political violence. The 2% where it's the left wing, I hate it, I despise it, I condemn it. I can't be any clearer than that.
And yet, Cenk, the only attempts on candidates' lives have both been against the same guy, who's the Republican nominee.
So Cenk is going to sit there and tell us that it's 98% radical right-wing. I can't even say it. I think you got those numbers reversed there, Cenk. You can only list 2 different instances. Well, 3, because now you included January 6th, which is the left-wing Democrat cop-out. Donald Trump was giving a speech literally a half-hour walk away while all the stuff was going on at the Capitol, and in no means did Donald Trump order that stuff to happen. As a matter of fact, he told people to calmly and peacefully walk over there, and then he told people to go home, and they went home. Meanwhile, as I mentioned before, you have the entire mainstream media apparatus, including these pundits like David Pakman, Cenk Uygur, Destiny, Sam Cedar, all these people out here literally repeating the left-wing rhetoric that comes straight from the top. It comes straight from the Democratic leadership in Congress, in the House, and the White House, that has led to Donald Trump's life being put in danger 2 or more times, one of which took a bullet to his face. And did you notice that Candace Owens and Eric are about to start cracking up? I mean, they should just start laughing in his face, because at this point, you got to embarrass these people. They're not going to stop. And the best weapon is to just embarrass them by laughing right in their face, because they're acting like complete idiots, like Cenk is right here.
So look, there are lunatics in this world. So those two guys are total lunatics. The first guy wasn't even a left-winger. This guy is totally unhinged from reality, voted for Trump in 2016. But it isn't about him being right-wing or left-wing. The point is that these guys are unhinged. So I don't want anyone taking shots at Democrats, Republicans,
No, but you're not
or Donald
prepared to
Trump or
change the way you speak about Trump,
But Piers,
which
you've
he
never
believes
answered my
is
question.
feeding
You've
and
never
fueling
answered my
it.
question. So do you want me to do a unilateral political surrender for the rest of the election because some lunatic took a shot at Trump?
No, but you know what? You could take a little bit longer than 24 hours perhaps, to consider whether the language from the left may have contributed to these attacks. Let me bring Eric in, who's been again waiting patiently. I mean, Eric, it seems to me America is in a dangerous place right now. Yeah, this is not a game. You've experienced actual warfare, and we're now seeing people taking weapons of war to rallies, to golf courses, to try and settle their differences with people by shooting them. And in this case, it's Donald Trump that they want to kill. This is not a good place.
If your point of this panel was to explore the spectrum of political rhetoric, I think your guest in the middle box, Reps ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself. To call the January 6th such an insurrection, it would be the first insurrection in human history where people showed up unarmed. And if people are feeling nervous about the survival of their constitution, about their vote, people show up to a lot of rallies, and they should certainly be able to show up and not expect to see attacks. But twice in 8 weeks, with 6 weeks left to go in the election, I really hope it's the last we've seen of political violence, because it certainly has no place for the republic to survive.
Let me bring back Candace. I want to just talk about Kamala Harris for a bit and the politics of all this, because there's no doubt she's had a little bit of a bounce now from, taking over from Biden, from the DNC, from the debate win, where I think she won that debate with Trump by sort of feeding his narcissistic streak when he fell for it. But at the same time, she's giving very few interviews. And the latest one she gave, we're going to show a little bit of it now, to me was just a load of incomprehensible word salad nothingness. Let's take a look.
Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed, women and children. We have seen with horror the images coming out of Gaza, and we have to take that seriously. And we have to agree that not only must we end this war, but we have to have a goal of a two-state solution, because there must be stability and peace in that region, in as much as what we do in our goal is to ensure that Israelis have security and Palestinians in equal measure have security, have self-determination and dignity.
You see, Candace, and there was another one at the weekend where she was talking about the economy and saying that, she grew up with people who were proud of their lawns and all this kind of thing. And in the debate, when she was challenged specifically about any policy stuff, doesn't really say anything. She didn't say anything there about this Israel-Hamas war, which is going to have any meaningful difference to what happens. It's all this kind of, as she would put it, her desire for joy, for everyone to get along, everyone to be peaceful and happy, and everyone to be prosperous. Well, we all want that. But the more she talks about these things, the less impressed I am by what comes out of her mouth. What do you make of Kamala Harris, the candidate?
You know, I truly think that the reason that they staged an effective coup on Joe Biden was simply because obviously he had been in such mental decline that they couldn't hide it anymore. And they at least needed a candidate that could remember the lines. And going into the debate, and obviously we're still waiting for more to come out, but we do have that ABC whistleblower who said that she was given the questions ahead of time, which would mean that she was given the time frame to remember the answers. And she's good for that. Like, she can remember the answers and as if she's performing a high school play. And that's exactly what she did. But when it comes down to it, the reason why she is giving such few interviews far in between is because she is not actually able to give comprehensive answers. She doesn't actually know what her policies are, which is why she flip-flops often on what her policies are. Her policies are essentially whatever she's told to say. On the issue of Israel and Palestine, it is a vulnerable area for her. She does not want to lose the Muslim vote in America. So she's trying to just say things that sound nice, present a bunch of niceties and sound kind, essentially going, we only have a few weeks to the election. As long as I sound like I want there to be peace, we won't lose the Muslim vote and people that are passionate about this hot button issue. So to me, I see her as little more than an actress, somebody that is more effective than obviously Joe Biden, who couldn't do that anymore for them. But everything that you're seeing with her is performative. And I am happy that there are groups that recognize that now, like particularly Black men do not seem to be falling for this whatsoever. And people are calling into question why it is that she keeps flip-flopping on so many of her policies. I don't think there's much going on upstairs with her. And she's especially weak when it comes to speaking about economics. And you can see that. You even saw that during the debate.
Yeah, I mean, Cenk, you know, I understand you don't want Trump to win. So obviously you're going to want the other side to win. But you cannot be impressed by what Kamala Harris actually says when she gets around to talking about policy. It's a lot of hot air, isn't it?
Yeah, so mostly yes. Okay, but let me be clear about a couple of things. So you know I'm honest. So that answer on Israel is terrible. That's basically her saying, I'll do everything Israel tells me to do. And by the way, she's taken over $5 million from AIPAC. Biden's taken over $11 million from AIPAC. Also, Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, his top donor is AIPAC. So anything that comes out of Republican or Democratic mouths on Israel is just paid for. Donald Trump, his top donor is Miriam Adelson, and it is reporting in Israel that he might let Israel annex the West Bank in order to please his donor. So our politics is totally, utterly corrupt. On policy, I like some of the economic populist things that she put out there. I like some of it a lot, actually. The problem with Democrats is that they don't often deliver. This is stuff that they do for campaigning. Then they deliver about 5 to 10% of it. And then the press bullies you into saying that it was miraculous, historic achievements. The problem with the Republicans is they go 100% in the wrong direction. And here I was getting all ready to agree with the panel overall because I don't like that answer by Kamala Harris. But here comes Candace Owens to make up another conspiracy theory about an ABC whistleblower, which is hilarious and ridiculous. It's been debunked thoroughly. It's just a rando.
Well, has it been? Well, hang on. Has it been debunked thoroughly? Because I've been watching.
Yes.
Well, hang on. I've been watching ABC's responses, and I don't call that a thorough debunking at all. It looks to me like they're being very careful with the way they're wording stuff. And Bill Ackman's been on this, who's no fool. He's been doing a lot of tweeting about this, saying there's something weird about this. This affidavit was apparently signed two days before the debate and so on. Now, it may turn out to be a load of baloney, but the response by ABC and Disney so far, Cenk, has not been very commanding.
So, Piers, here we go again. You know who outed Donna Brazile for actually leaking questions to a Democrat, Hillary Clinton? Young Turks did. We found it in WikiLeaks, and when we originally exposed it...
So why would you be surprised if it happened again?
Right. So mainstream media said, oh, you guys are crazy, you guys are kooks. No, we proved it. You know what the difference between that story and this story is? We had evidence. There's no evidence here at all. It reminds me of Rush Limbaugh when he would say to his listeners, I have a fax. I have a fax here. Anybody can send you a fax, brother. Anybody can put up a fake document online. You have to show that the guy was actually from ABC.
Well, this is not a conspiracy theory. Cenk hasn't just, I don't know where he's gone. It's like a scene out of Star Trek.
And he gone. And you know what? I think that's a good place to wrap this video up. I want to say I appreciate Piers Morgan for calling out Cenk Uygur's lies. I mean, he lied at least 5 times during this video, just straight up lies. Even that last one about the affidavit being signed by the MSM whistleblower. I mean, he says we have no evidence. Well, it's like, bro, a person signed a legal affidavit. That means that they're willing to go to court and jail for perjury if the information is false. That has weight. That has some credibility. So just saying that it's been debunked and acting like it's not credible is poor journalism. And I don't know if Cenk actually calls himself a journalist, but he's trying to report on facts from what he says. He claims that he never lies. Well, I mean, come on, bro. You got caught lying 5 or 6 times, 4 or 5 times during this debate alone. And not only that, you made yourself look like a raving imbecile in the process. And I think Candace Owens just completely crushed this one. And so did Piers Morgan, for that matter. So, and if you guys agree with that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.